What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So we finally got to see some official gameplay for Hogwarts Legacy. It did have a lot of elements that had been seen before, and I'm certain that many people who had questions were more than likely excited to go ahead and take a look within. I'm one of those people. I went ahead and pre-ordered the game. My Harry Potter exposure is very limited, and so for the video game side, I'm happy to explore the systems and a lot of the different aspects of the video game on release. Now, shout out to Mr. Expectago. He seemed like a little kid in a candy store, smiling throughout the whole experience, and you could just tell that he was just soaking it in, and I don't think there could have been a more deserving person than he to be able to do this very first showcase for the community. The very important thing that I thought was, something that stood out to me above everything else was the combat. But before they got to that, the developers were in a place where they got to show a lot of different aspects. They got to show the character creation. They were actually playing this from a PlayStation 5 dev kit, which really got all my ears perked up. So for those of you who follow this channel, who've ever watched any of my videos, you know that I'm very, very in tune with a lot of development aspects for video games. And so it was very interesting to see the way the dev kit was pretty much working, how they were able to pause certain actions mid-game and so on and so forth. And so I thought this was very interesting overall. Now, when you actually kind of go ahead and consider a few things that we got to see, the combat was the one that really did catch my attention. A lot of people were talking about how they thought this was, a W. You could see it in the chat on the bottom of the screen. I had to go, to the theater mode. And I really enjoy and I like the way they actually presented the combat. They have in the game a training dummy that you can actually go and train with. This is a very important part for a lot of video games that have some level of action in it. And the developers were able to go ahead and showcase this as you, the player, are able to basically cast your spells, do all kinds of different chains and all of the above on your dummy. Now, we don't necessarily know if there's more functionality for the dummy, like seeing a health bar or whatever it is, or seeing maybe your damage numbers showing up in this dummy. I guess that's something that we'll probably want to explore. That way, if you're maybe building or maybe setting up your wizard to have a lot more damage, or at least have their magic, stay, or at least if the spell's cast, maybe that spell's effect stays longer. These are some things I would probably love to see. But the developers did mention cooldowns and talked about how as your character is getting stronger, it's going to be very interesting to go ahead and see how, a lot of their stats and a lot of their different RPG mechanics eventually are starting to follow with your player's level. These are some really cool things that are happening so far. And one thing I didn't notice, and even though this is a work in progress, this developer showcase was actually on a PlayStation 5, and it seemed like it was on 30 FPS. So it might be a 30 FPS build that they have that's probably working fully, that they wanted to be able to use to showcase a lot of these different, mechanics. And so that's probably not really a big deal. But I wanted to go ahead and say, this right now so that we can mention it, because the developers have not talked about performance on the different platforms. So at least we know that they're showing us the game, and this is the presentation that's actually being, brought forward. I look forward to seeing a lot more regarding the game, and I'm hoping that the presentation is a lot open, just the way they were able to do this. And one really interesting and I think big highlight was the fact that, questions were able to be asked as well from the community, and this was actually pretty cool. And I think here, okay, yeah, this is where the numbers are shown. The dummy, yes, is one, factor to be able to train with. But then when you train with, some of your schoolmates or peers, then you get to see damage numbers. I think that's where they were able to show that. So, yeah, I was thinking only the training dummy was probably going to be the one question we had. But if you had some of your peers that you could train with, then shoot, there's no need. You can actually train, with or against or spar with real characters. And I think that's actually pretty interesting. These are my thoughts so far as to the gameplay presentation that was actually put together today. I'm really happy that the developers were able to get something going and have the game playable and showing everyone. Now, the game, in my opinion, I think its optimization and development challenges have been really interesting. For those of you who may or may not know, the game got a delay and was moved all the way to February, and there was talk about the Xbox and the PlayStation 4 versions. These versions are probably, in my opinion, the final phase of the whole development, and I'm sure we're probably going to be able to see a lot more as things come into focus. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.